Alright, I'm gonna need a show of hands in the comments. Who knew that Pancake Day was a thing? Because I, for one, certainly did not. However, not only is it apparently a thing, there is a whole event here in the Hunter Classic just around Pancake Day. And actually, on Wednesday's live stream, we did all of the hunting missions, but there are collectibles out here on the EHR, and there's a whole bunch that we have yet to actually pick up. So, White Rime Ridge is one of the best collectible maps because it is so wide open. And I thought, instead of going after bison and moose like we always do, let's go for something a little bit different. Polar bear, doll sheep, probably Sitka deer, Arctic fox as well. Look to try to pick up those collectibles, and maybe we can even find some trophies in the process. And just like that, I believe we've gotten one of the collectibles that we didn't already have. So this one is the butter and syrup pancake. So I only had one, and it was the chocolate chip one. I think that means there are 3 more yet to find. And I don't know the rarity, I have no idea how likely it is that we're going to find them, but you can see why this map is really good. That was, I mean, really obvious, stands out so well, and even this Sitka shed lane over here kind of demonstrates why I chose White Rime. But I'm quite excited for the polar bear aspect of this. We haven't hunted them in a while, and I think they do look really good, and they're unique to hunt. They're out here on these ice caps. It can make for a real challenge. Actually going and claiming them is something you have to consider. And right out there, our first polar bear of the hunt. 23 to 28 scoring male is going to be pretty low end. It'll probably still be 27 plus. All the males kind of score in the same general area unless they're a really big one. 30 plus is what we're looking for. And you maybe notice we have another collectible there, I think the same one. We have a kind of winter camo theme to our loadout today. We've got the winter camo 300. We also have the winter camo 20 gauge for snowshoe hare. And maybe later, if we haven't found all the collectibles after we go through all of polar bear territory, I do have the winter camo snakebite for bison and stuff like that. Is that the chocolate chip one maybe? That's blueberry, isn't it? Fruit pancake. Alright, now we have 3 of the 5. This might not take long at all. So like I said, fairly low scoring, 27.29 for him. Double lung liver from that 300 though, so not bad. And we get to hopefully add some decent GM. That was worth about 53 just for taking down a small polar bear. Oh, I guess that's the one I had the track of? That's a max estimate snowshoe. I saw up to 2,000. Pop it there with the 20 gauge, but the weight estimate on the track's at only up to 1.8. So even though great weight and score estimate, at best it's gonna be like 1,800. 1.6 kilo is okay. Gonna be a 1648. Again though, 52 GM for shooting that. We'll take it. Maybe we can make some GM out of this. The rewards, by the way, include a tent, which always is huge, so definitely want to get these missions done. That's another reason that I definitely wanted to come out here. But we can make some GM. That certainly wouldn't hurt. Well, I was going to ignore this polar bear because I believe that's just a smallish female. But if it's going to run up to us, we'll just take it with the 300. And by the way, we found like 5 of the same collectible and no new ones. But on top of that, it's mostly been female polar bears out here at every spot, but we're all the way up, kind of just heading out this little peninsula here. A lot of times, that's where a lot of the polar bears hang out, so hopefully we start to find some more. And in the process, if we could locate those last couple of collectibles, that would be pretty nice too. Now that right there is a little bit more like what we're after. 26 to 31 and max weight estimate up to 600 kilo. But I mentioned before, actually going and collecting the things is important. I think there's a path out to there, but we really won't find out till we get out there. And like, should we not shoot this right now until we're sure we can go claim it? Probably, but we're gonna shoot it right now and see if we can navigate that maze. Now the other thing is too, we really gotta try to drop it in its tracks, so I want him to stop. Maybe turning this way is gonna be fine. Oh, he dipped right down. Definitely should have waited for him to stop. That's not ideal. Not really sure that shot's a whole lot better. As long as he doesn't leave that area. We literally hit 3 shots in the exact same spot. What I don't want is for him to get off of the ice. So he went down there, but my goodness, that was not exactly how you draw it up. So I don't think collectibles can spawn out here. That's probably also worth noting. But basically, we need to navigate this maze, and if we drop off of these little tiny icebergs like at all into the water, we have to fast travel away. We cannot recover from that. So every step we take is pretty important. Oh, no way. Collectibles can spawn out here? I didn't realize that. I think we have this one. Almost certainly we do. Yeah, that's the first one that we got in this video, so that's worth knowing. I mean, we'll have to pay attention when we're running by, but luckily, we were able to make it all the way out here and navigate through all the potential pitfalls, and we're basically looking for 30 plus. That's a really quality polar bear, and I guess we'll see. They're really tough to judge up close. Oh my god. 599.9 kilo, 30.5. What? I am so glad that we found a way to make enough shots to get him down, because holy, I think that's our biggest. Can we do a skull mount? We can. I think we're gonna do a skull mount because we've already got a full body mount of a 30 point something polar bear. And you can't go back, like you can't do a regular full body mount and then get the skull mounted later. So I think we'll do the skull. And we're definitely gonna get a photo. That's absurd. I mean, that weight-wise, that's probably 50 kilo bigger than any we've ever shot. That's super cool. So I think something like this is gonna work. That iceberg underneath him is actually kind of like moving up and down. So I wanted to take the photo when it was as close to his paws as possible, but getting to show off the Winter Camo 300, a 30.5 polar bear. And we're gonna have to take that skull back to the trophy lodge. I wish I knew our current biggest. I know it's 30 plus, but I'll be curious to see which one actually was bigger. And yeah, that's a legit trophy lodge edition. We've never done a mounted skull for the polar bear. Now we get to add one to the lodge. Now that one is a little bit different, so coming all the way out here, that's the deluxe. I think that's probably the most rare one then. Even though we already shot a monster polar bear, I went back and looked too. 30.393 was our previous biggest, so it's close enough anyway. I'm definitely happy to do the skull mount and not basically just replace by 0.1 and never display the old 30 plus again. So that'll be pretty cool to have them both in the lodge. And now we need one more collectible. We're basically all the way up here at the end, but there's a lot more of this map we can go around and hunt. And frankly, what we can do, even though these ice caps are at least where I prefer to hunt polar bears, they do exist. Like all along basically the northern border of the map. So we can come down all the way around here if we want, and we'll kind of just see where the hunt leads us. Well, we found ourselves one final polar bear, and it's another really encouraging estimate, 420 to 600 kilo again, this time 28 to 32. Now that's pretty far, and this is literally like the last spot where I'd expect to run into polar bears. I don't think we can go much further this way and expect to see them along the coast. They will be there on occasion, but it's the last thing I would do, just going here and figuring on finding a bunch. He looks good to me, but I want to get into at least 200, just so we don't have to worry about aiming high. When they're out on the ice, like the big one that we got earlier, that's kind of one thing. They're not going to go anywhere. This guy can go inland, he can disappear wherever he wants to, so we got to get into decent range, and hopefully we can take down another one. So we've got him at about 200 there. I honestly think he could be really, really solid. It's so tough to tell. Obviously, it's their skull that is the determining factor for the score. But to me, it looks pretty decent at that range. So he's going to walk behind that stuff. As long as he doesn't go too far, there's really no lose inside of him now. Oh, we did just spook a fox. That's about the one thing that could happen. There he is there. As long as the fox doesn't send him running, that's the one concern. Drop him in his tracks. Let's make it so that doesn't have to be an issue at all. Now last time, we did have a collectible right next to our other one, though it wasn't one of the ones we needed. Still looking for that final collectible. Maybe it'll be up here right next to the bear. No collectibles in sight. I really think this is a high scoring one. It looks, to me, at least as good as the last one. It'd be insane if he's bigger, but let's see what we just took down. 550 kilo? Oh, he's only 28.8. I thought he was bigger than that. I'd be curious to compare the two scores. Looks like that would have a pretty good like skull width measurement. So it's just the length and width of the skull. You can see like it looks like he's got a really flat head, and that's what I look for. Usually that's a good sign. Maybe the skull length isn't as good, either way, a decent bear anyway. He was, what, 28.8 gives us 68 GM reward? But I think it's about time we actually fast travel down to here. We're gonna go through bison and moose territory some. We gotta find that last collectible, and we've kinda used the entirety of the coast. Now, just in case you were wondering, the reason that we didn't basically start this hunt or spend the entirety of the hunt going after bison is because they're maybe not the most interesting things to actually go after. The most interesting part of it is if they're gonna charge all the way to you, or if you can get a shot off and avoid having to use a medkit. But there was a decent male there, got a brain shot and into the liver and stomach, 111 score. And, you know, I'm not even sure necessarily that this is better than running the coast. All this vegetation, at least to some degree, can hide the collectibles. Still finding quite a few of the ones that we're not looking for, but I think maybe, because we're almost over to this river, and it's a really good spot for bison anyway, we might run along the coast of that for a bit, just because it will get us away from the vegetation, and I really would like to get all the collectibles out of the way. Do have a really tiny male bison there, 50 to 65, we'll probably just kind of skirt around him. Kind of looking like bison number 2 is going to be inevitable. He's just walking right across here where we're going. But I think running down the edge of the river like this might work out. Found a couple of collectibles already, still not the one that we're looking for, of course. But if they're in these areas and easy to locate, that's probably exactly where we want to be. But yeah, kind of like I said, not the hardest thing to hunt out here on this map, and that's why I chose polar bears and stuff like that first. This one's going to be a 110 score, and by the way, the CSS and therefore the GM reward reflects that. That's, I guess, a decent size bison. The average size maybe a bit above average. Just 33 GM for taking out one like that. So, just a little update here. We are over 23.5 kilometers traveled, and that collectible still just seems to evade us. I've gotten to the point that I decided to basically do the inverse of what we started doing, because that worked so incredibly well at the start of the hunt. So, little Sitka buck out there, I think we may have dropped it. That was a weird looking animation. It may have actually been like Spine 3. But anyway, we've actually gone so far, the game stopped tracking like where we go. You can see our path the whole way along, and then it stopped right here. So I drew it out till we fast traveled. I again went back to this lodge, and then decided to basically run this coast, since we found so many collectibles at the beginning. None yet, and I'm kind of thinking 25 kilometers may be where we wrap up, but I wanted to see if there were any polar bears down here. Obviously, well, there's a collectible, but not the one that we wanted. Obviously look for those too. At least a good sign we found one, because it has been a while. But purely based on the way our buck is laying, I would say we probably did spy shot him. He just bedded down and then expired there. And the shot placement looks to be that indeed. Yeah, spine 3 and hip bone. Still was only a 30-second wound time, 45 score, not at all special. And kind of interesting too, it's the same type of environment down here. There's these ice caps that the polar bears like. None down here at all. I really never hunt polar bears in this direction, but I was kind of assuming, you know, down along here they could exist. At least none so far. Well, at least we have a chance for a bonus snowshoe. That's a male with a heck of an estimate. Up to 1900 plus. Not that a male snowshoe is ever going to be that big, but we'll take that guy. You can see we're at like 26.5 kilometers. Just so happened we are basically at a point where we can't fast travel just yet. So I figured we'd run our way back up around the lodge, and once we can fast travel, which will probably be in just a couple of minutes now, 5 in fact, if we haven't found the collectible, we'll have to save that for, I guess, a future hunt. I'd like to think it won't be terribly difficult to find, but given the fact that we have gone this far and haven't found one, that's why I want to put in any extra time we can, even if it's just 5 minutes of running around. And sad to say, those 5 minutes did not result in a clutch collectible, but I would like to think in a future hunt we'll be able to find that, and no doubt, with a tent on the line as the rewards, we'll be back looking for that one final one to complete the mission. But we've got our polar bear skull, at least for now, just on this little platform here. I think I'm gonna maybe swap the Euro rabbit and the skull, just so it's a little bit more visible from the ground level. But that is pretty darn cool. We now have a 30.58 polar bear skull on here, and I think it is, or maybe not on the upper level, down there. What are the odds we could actually get that to come up? 30.393. full body mounted polar bear there. I'd like to swap them, but there is no way to do that. Adding the skull in here is more than fine with me. I love having that ability. This lodge is so big, but on top of that, being able to display multiple bears in the form of like a full body mount and a skull, that's one of my absolute favorite things that they've done in this game for trophy lodges. But anyway, that is going to do it for this video. So as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.